During Operation Iraqi Freedom in 2004 I was on a 4-week operation in northern Iraq on the Syrian border with 1st Stryker Division. 4 strikers, 4 men each, spaced every 5 miles. Boring as all get out, as we were literally just watching the same paths, day in and out for 4 mind-numbing weeks. Within the first few days an old woman from the local village would show up with a few kids and some pita-type bread. They'd give us stacks of the bread to eat and we'd give them candy and water. This carried on every day into the 2nd week until one day. It was all different. Instead of the old woman and kids, this day, it was a lone, little girl. Maybe 8 years old. Immediately the 5 of us on my truck knew this was not okay. You see, we'd usually see them coming up over a rise in the direction of the nearest village, a mile and a half away. Our trucks had what is called an LRAS on them, long-range advanced scout surveillance system. John could read numbers off a credit card from a great distance. And when they did, they were usually running and excited. Happy and smiling. This day, the single little girl slowly walked over the rise towards us, sobbing uncontrollably and carrying a huge stack of the pita-type bread. We called it into our platoon sergeant and applied our learned rules of engagement. Initially we screamed at her on the bullhorn. Tawakfa Satlak al-Nar. Stop or I'll shoot in Arabic. All I ever bothered to learn. Oh, and Sahara? Cigarette? Anyways, still she pressed on. Once we saw she wasn't going to stop and walked within 400 meters of us, we began to take warning shots into the air. Still she walked towards us. We began to shoot into the dirt 30 meters to her right or left. She pisses herself and pukes. Still holding the bread. Still walking towards us. Now she's 200 meters from us. The whole time we are relaying the situation to our platoon sergeant. He's screaming over the mic to all 5 of us, I'm gonna be there in 5 mics. If the threat isn't neutralized by the time I get there, I'll do it myself. Me and one soldier had kids, so we agreed we definitely weren't shooting a kid and the other 3 agreed. Everyone just froze up. Between the platoon sergeant screaming over the mic, seeing the girl so obviously distraught, literally pissing all over herself and throwing up, knowing she's probably gonna blow up and one or more of us is gonna be injured or worse. Seeing her still trudge forward amidst the screams over the bullhorn and the warning shots ringing out. Madness. We all just froze, not wanting to kill a kid. And just like that, when 100 meters or so away from us, we heard a shot and then saw the hit against her chest and she fell flat backwards, pita bread on her chest. Our platoon sergeant had came up behind us on his truck and just as he said, if the threat wasn't neutralized by the time he got there, he would do it himself. So he did. We waited for 4 hours for explosives ordnance disposal to come and confirm. The stack of pita bread was hollowed out and 3 fragmentation grenades were inside, thin wire looped through the pins and around the child's waist, meant to be passed off, pulling the pins and blowing us up. 2 weeks later, when we finished the op and were fortunate enough to get 48 hours downtime, me and my 4 squad mates on the Stryker that refused to shoot a little girl, were mercilessly smoked by the platoon sergeant for 24 of those 48 hours. He ran us into the ground with a fury I've since never experienced. You could all be dead. And that little B exclamation mark dollar at hash would have been the one to kill you. She was a little over 4.5 feet tall. She wore a pair of old, faded, neon teal sweatpants and a red Minnie Mouse sweatshirt. Her hair was dark black and she wore it down, wind kicking it everywhere. I can see her face so vividly now as I write this. I can hear my buddies screaming and arguing about what to do. I can smell our grit and grime from being unbathed for 2 weeks. I can still faintly hear her sobs. That was 15 years ago and I will never forget the ugly nature of man I saw that day. On both sides. On theirs for forcing a child to do such a thing. And our side for having to kill a kid for